Welcome to the Simpler Business Podcast, where we talk about ways to do what you love and serve your people in a way that brings you income and freedom. I'm your host, Marissa Roberts. Join me as I chat with my favourite entrepreneurs about how they simplify their biz so that you can simplify yours. Being a business owner often means wearing multiple hats and juggling multiple tasks all by yourself. You want to do it all because you're very conscious of your budget, you need to be able to afford to run your business as it grows. But once you start to see consistent sales and cash flow, you tend to get even busier managing your deliverables, and your business growth should not come at the expense of your efficiency or your personal well-being. When that momentum starts to build, that's when you need to start thinking about hiring help. And a virtual assistant or VA is the ideal place to start. Your VA can take care of so many business tasks, freeing you up to focus on the core activities that really need you, your face, your personality, and your experience. But many entrepreneurs and business owners, particularly in the first few years of running their business, find the process of finding and hiring a VA a bit too overwhelming. And as a result, they tend to put it off and struggle on by themselves, often burning out in the process. We don't want that for you, so we're going to help you out today. My guest today is one half of an incredible team that specializes in helping business owners find the perfect VA and helping VAs establish their virtual assistant business so that the client and VA relationship can be the perfect match. They help people demystify the process, providing clear, actionable insights to seamlessly integrate a VA into the business, ensuring that it's not just another task to check off your to-do list, but a strategic move towards sustainable growth and work-life balance. Founded in February 2019, the Newcastle Virtual Assistants is the brainchild of Adrian Donnelly and Jane Eckham. They are passionate about the virtual assistant industry in Australia and provide a space for their members to thrive, offering them mentoring, resources, guidance, connection, and learning opportunities. They not only act as a conduit between business owners and local virtual assistants through education and matchmaking, they also work with industry partners to continue to raise the profile and ensure the quality of the VA industry in our community and beyond. Adrian and Jane have helped more than 40 business owners find a VA through their matchmaking service, and they're looking forward to helping even more people in the business community. They understand that business owners put off the search because they are time poor, and this is how they can help them. Adrian's joining us today. Welcome, Adrian. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm great. Thank you for having me on the show.
I love that you're coming on the show to talk about this. You've been on the podcast before, and I love having you on as a guest. It's always nice to have a good chat. And we've known each other for years.
Many years.
Many years. And my VA, Kate, I met through Newcastle Virtual Assistants. So this topic and having you on the show talking about it is very near and dear to my heart, because I was a VA hiring procrastinator for, oh my gosh, probably 9 years as a business owner. And if there's anything I could tell anybody who's starting their own business and might be in that first, 1 to 3 years, it's hire earlier than you think you need to, because the amount of mental load that's off your shoulders, the amount of actual free time, like to free yourself up to be able to do those needle pushing things in the business that actually need your face. It's amazing to have somebody take the other stuff and go, yeah, I'm going to take that care of that for you in the background. It's just really freeing. And I want other people to experience that. So yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you. No, that's a great introduction. And you're a great example of, the business owner who needed that support, didn't know where to start, or, knew that they needed it, but was a little bit time poor. And that's, a very common situation that where we are meeting business owners, and that's where they're at.
Yeah. So do you find that's the most common pain point for business owners when they're looking for a VA? It's that time poor factor. Like, I really want it, but I just can't fit it into my busy schedule.
I think so. So I think there's probably two main areas that we see with business owners. They're time poor, but often as well, business, a lot of the people listening to the podcast today have started their own business or are thinking about it. And one thing that we often don't realize when we start the business owners, not only are we delivering a service or selling a product that we're really passionate about, but we've also just instantly become the bookkeeper, the receptionist, the customer service officer, the marketing person, the complaints department, the list goes on.
Yeah.
So what we often find is that business owners are thinking, okay, I never actually started my business to do all these other things, and I'm struggling to do it all within, the hours that I have, and managing those other hats that they wear, whether it's another business, they're a parent, a brother or a sister, they're the sporting coach for the local football team, whatever all those other parts of their life are. They're not able to do it all, and they often think they have to be ready to employ somebody in that traditional sense of employment and have all the payroll set up and all the HR structures and contracts, and put an ad on Seek. And Jane and I often will say the virtual assistant industry is that sweet spot between business owners thinking they have to do it all to the detriment of their, social life and emotional well-being and mental well-being, or they have to be ready for their first employee, their first hire. And that's where the VAs, I think, fall, is in that real sweet spot in between those two sorts of ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying because as a business owner, I feel like I get nervous at the idea of being responsible for somebody's full-time paycheck and having enough work for somebody to bring them on as an employee, whether it be casual or part-time or full-time. You're right, it is a lot more work that you have to do to work out how to do that and how to manage it. But having a contractor who, is running their own business, is confident in the work that they're doing, and one that I can pick that actually specializes in the areas that I need help with the most, and I don't have to necessarily worry about training a lot of the time. That's a pretty big perk as well. But also for someone who has also worked as a virtual assistant, because I have private clients as well and do very similar work with them, there's also the fact that, I can pick and choose my hours kind of thing, like I can pick and choose how much I want to work during the month, which gives me as the VA balance as well. So I feel like everybody wins when it comes to this relationship.
Definitely. And that's why we always explain it as a very cost effective, flexible, and fluid option for business owners. And they may get to the point, and I've worked with various clients through my own VA business, where they sort of have outgrown me and they need a part-time, they need a full-time admin support person, or they've reached the bit that, the where I'm at capacity or where my skill set ends. And then they need a marketing agency or a marketing freelancer, or they need a bookkeeper, or they need a full-time event person. They sometimes will outgrow. But I find for business owners that are in that state of overwhelm, or finding that they're spending all these other parts of the day on the operations of the business and not the real reason of why they started the business, to do what they love or they're very passionate about, that's where I find, and Jane and I have seen, with 40 plus business owners that we've helped find virtual assistants, is that is where they can really add so much value.
Yeah. I really like that the whole purpose of the VA is to save that time so they can have more of a life. But then the whole purpose of your matchmaking service is to also save them time in the finding and hiring of the VA. So they're not committing weeks and weeks and weeks and multiple hours throughout the day doing that as well. Because, it's that old story. You hear it time and time again about people who start their own business because they want more freedom. They want to work less hours. They want to be able to have time for family, whether that be caring for kids or hanging out with friends or caring for parents as they get older as well. Everyone's got a different circumstance, but usually I think we all find that we have the same thing in common. We're getting pulled in lots of different directions at once. So for you guys to do the matchmaking, that's a whole new level for me. I love that. It's so much better than just having to say to your friends, does anyone know of a VA? How would we
Mhm.
start Googling, and then you see 1,000 options and most of them are US based and you don't know what to do, or you don't know if you've got anyone local. You guys have been a game changer in terms of finding people in an efficient and pleasant way. So do you want to walk us through how your matchmaking service works and how it kind of hits those pain points and helps the customer that way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. Like, a big thing that Jane and I are very passionate about is educating small business owners and medium business owners, and people running their own show, that this industry is here and quite significant in Australia. So for us in the Newcastle VA business, we sort of have those two audiences: the VAs that we support, that you mentioned in the intro, through mentoring and events and professional development. And then the other half is business owners through that matchmaking service. But often so much of it is just educating business owners on the virtual assistant industry here in Australia, what it is, what it isn't, how it
Mm.
compares, and how it can sit alongside offshore virtual assistant options. You mentioned the US. There's a huge contingency of virtual assistants there, also in the Philippines. So a big part of it is educating, and that's often where we'll start with matchmaking business owners. They'll say, I think I need some help. Someone's mentioned this concept of a VA. I'm not really sure what it is. Now, you do get some that have had VAs before and they totally understand, but more times than not, that first amount of time that we're spending with a business owner is really just exploring the industry and educating them on the industry and what a VA can do and how they can utilize them in the business. Often they think it's an employee. So sort of, talking through the difference between an employee, as you mentioned before, a contractor, just all those sort of nuances of the VA industry. And then we get into what are their specific needs. So part of our matchmaking services, if they're local, we will go and meet with them face to face, or virtually we will meet them as well. And we spend, an hour to an hour and a half sitting with the business owner and really understanding where they're at, what are their pain points, what's their core business about, what's their products and services, why they started their business, what their drivers are. It might be because their parents are aging and they need to be there. It might be because they're starting a family. It might be because they're on a lot of other boards and they need to free up some time, or they may have a day job and a business that they're growing. Like really understanding where the business owner's at, and then walking through what are some of those things that they'd like to get off their plate. Where can they be adding the most value to their business? I was having a conversation with an architect recently about this. He said, I'm sitting formatting quote documents and proposal documents where I should be is pitching at these meetings, pitching. That's where I can bring, just dollar wise, the most value to my business. So working out what all of those are, we do that in that consultation meeting, what technology they use, the kind of person that they want to work with, because I might be, culturally a great fit for one business and not culturally a great fit for another business. So whilst we can teach someone software and, processes and systems, getting the right fit, right personality fit and the right cultural fit for the business, because often as a VA, you work so close with the business owner, you really need to gel well. So we go through all of that. We help talk them through, the commercial agreement, what onboarding looks like, give them advice on how they should pay a VA and what a VA would charge. That's all part of that service. We then take that away and massage all of that information into a brief. We share that with our members in the Newcastle VA business. So that group is sort of around that 230, 250 mark in terms of members. And then from that, we take the top 2 to 3 best suited virtual assistants, but from the ones that contact us and say, yes, I'm interested, and present those to the business owner. And that is where we find, not just in the consultation where we're extracting all of that information that sometimes they've not even thought about themselves around what this person needs to be doing and what the possibilities are, but also that search component. You mentioned before, often they'll go out to their own networks. We actually had an example of a lady who contacted us and said, my business coach, and often business coaches will be telling their clients, you need a VA. They'll say to them, you need a VA. This woman put something on her LinkedIn. She got over 40 DMs from interested virtual assistants, which is great because there's so many out there. It shows we've got a beautiful, healthy industry in Australia. But not only was that client time poor before, now she had 40 DMs to respond to. So it's almost just doubled down. Yeah. And those are the examples where we go, this is why our matchmaking service, exists, because we can save clients between sort of on average 5 to 8 hours of that searching, of meeting VAs, of trying to work out what they need, maybe getting it right, but maybe getting it wrong, navigating the onshore versus offshore option. So that's where we really see that value for the business owners, is that time saving, as you said, because often they're coming to us and they're already time poor, they're already starting to drown, and that's when they need the support. So we really take a lot of that heavy lifting out, not just being able to extract what they need, but also giving them some option. If we don't have the most suited options locally, we'll always go local first, but not if it means recommending someone who we know isn't the right fit, they don't have the right skill set. Jane and I both have quite extensive national VA networks, and there have been occasions where we've matched the business owner with someone outside of our region because that was the best outcome for the business owner. It doesn't often happen. We're very lucky to have a beautiful community, but also we've supported business owners from outside the region. We're working with a psychologist in Perth at the moment to find her a virtual assistant. So whilst the name has Newcastle in it, we have, networks outside of that. So yeah, I think that gives you a bit of an overview of that service. Our role is to provide that warm introduction. Then we encourage the business owners to connect with the VAs we've recommended. And really from then it's up to them to determine who is the best fit for their business, where is that chemistry with that person that they're going to bring into their business. And then we offer support for the next month in case they need assistance with that onboarding, just navigating that kind of starting that relationship off, if they need help picking, between the different virtual assistants, and any other guidance that we can give them.
I really love that because I feel like that fills gaps for both the business owner and the VA, especially when you're talking things in terms of pricing. Often business owners have no idea on the pricing options when it comes to a VA. And a lot of the time, someone who's starting a VA business or has only worked in it for a little while, we tend to undercharge when it comes to our services.
Absolutely.
And we
Yeah.
don't know, and we don't feel right asking other people, hey, what do you charge for this? Because you don't want to be competitive or, you know, talking about money is something people still struggle with. So to have somebody who's experienced in that middle lane to go, we can talk to both of you from different perspectives, but help you come to a cohesive arrangement that you're both confident about, that alone is absolutely worth the service. But to think about the time that you save and the mental load that you save, not having to put that offer out there and weed through hundreds of applications, there are so many. I can see the value from your service immediately. I think it's a
Yeah.
really, really good thing, and I really hope that more and more business owners hear about it, because I think that's the biggest hurdle, right? Is when you've got a great service like that and you're spending all of your time helping people, then you've got to make sure that, people actually find out about you as well. And I think that's why the community is so good that you guys have created, because everybody is confident and warm and friendly and helpful, and you've really built a group of people who are exactly what the industry needed, I think.
Yeah. And I think too, for Jane and I, because we both have co-founded this business together, but also still have our own individual VA businesses, we very much have our finger on the pulse around what's happening in the VA industry, because we too are working virtual assistants. I've had my business for 7 years, Jane's had hers for 8 years. So between the two of us, we've got 15 years of lived experience as virtual assistants. So we understand, and we also both have virtual assistants. So we really have worn, in terms of that matchmaking service, we've worn both hats. We've been in both people's shoes. And, I've had VAs that they weren't the right fit from what I needed. And I think, whether I rushed or I didn't do enough time looking and actually working out what is it that I need. I've got it right and I've got it wrong. So I think Jane and I both have a very, solid understanding of both the business owner with the need of a VA, but also the VA who's looking to build their clients. And, matchmaking services and lead networks are a great source of new client referrals for working VAs as well. So it really is a win-win for
Yeah.
both sides. And for us, that we're really passionate about raising the profile of the Australian virtual assistant industry. It really allows us to do that, by coming and speaking with people like yourself and speaking at events and showcasing our industry. It's great for the VAs that we support, but it's also great for the business owners, because every time you have that conversation, there's someone that's just like, I had no idea this industry existed. I could really use that in my business. Like, could we talk about, what that could look like for me? It happens all the time. More and more people are becoming aware of this incredible industry that we have in Australia of really highly skilled, professional, competent business owners in the VA space.
Yeah. And is that how it came to life? Was it those little kind of stumbly conversations where people would say, "Oh, I really had no idea this existed. I need help and I don't know what to do." Or did you spot the gap and go, "Right, we need to really feel this for people? Like, yeah, how did it happen?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my business got quite quickly and built through word of mouth and referrals quite quickly, as did Jane's. And at various times we were both fully booked and weren't able to take clients. You know, we're in an industry where we sell our time, and that has a limit if we'd still like to sleep and exercise and spend time with family and friends. So
Life, yeah.
often, yeah, exactly. So often business owners would come to us and say, "Oh, hey Adrian, hey Jane, you work for my friend, Mel, she raves about you. Could you come and work for my business too?" And eventually, Jane and I are always, if you've ever heard Jane and I talk before, we always say it's never a no, it's a no, but let me find out, let me ask someone, we never just say no to clients and go, well, off you go. It's always a no, but. So in this situation, we were like, no, but let me find you a VA. I've got a good network. We can find you someone. I'll put you in touch with someone. And then our business coach said to us, and so what do how do you charge for that service? And we looked at each other and we said, oh, we don't, we're just super passionate about the industry and we just want to help business owners and we want to help the VAs. And she was like, mm-hmm. So how much will you be charging from today onwards? She's like, passion's great. And anyone who meets us knows, Jane and I are different in so many ways, but one thing we are identical on is how passionate we are about the industry. We had to sit down and go, this actually, yeah, not just about us wanting to help business owners. This is a highly valuable service that we're offering. And, if you think about an accountant, they might charge themselves at $150 an hour. Well, they could pay us a certain amount. We've saved them 5 or 10 hours. They're not paying 5 or 10 times $150 for our service. It's a very cost effective, it's very affordable service. And they're paying for they're getting a great service, and that's really changing their business and changing their life by having a VA. We've had business owners say to us, this has totally changed my life and my business. Why didn't I do this sooner? So that's sort of how it was sort of just doing it informally because of our own professional networks and people coming to us. And then we decided to make it part of one of our commercial offerings through the Newcastle Virtual Assistant business. And yeah, as you said in the intro, since then, we've helped over 40 business owners find virtual assistants, both regionally and in Newcastle and beyond. And I think this month alone, in probably the past 4 to 6 weeks, we've probably had at least one, if not two, inquiries about our matchmaking service every week.
Wow.
Yep. And then that person will say to their friend, I've just done this. I've just got a VA. And then their friend calls and like, oh, you just helped my mate find a VA. Can you find me one? So yeah, it's just getting that momentum again through word of mouth.
Yeah, I think that's such a good thing. And I'm one of your members as well. And I see those leads pop up. And I really like how much time and effort you put into them because it never feels like you're going in without information for that sort of thing. Like the way you guys set it out and say, look, we've got this lead. Here's the business background. Here's what they're looking to do. Here's what you could offer them. Let us know if you're interested. You're very clear about their expectations. It's very easy to see at a glance whether or not that's a fit for what, for example, anyone's looking for. So if you've got a VA who might have, say, 10 hours a week available, they know from a glance whether or not that's going to fit into their schedule or their life or their skill set
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Especially skill set. That's a big one because as a VA, you can be asked to do so many different things.
It's
And if you
so
go in
broad.
blind, it can be overwhelming because if you go in blind and they want you to do something you've never done before and you've already said, yeah, I'll do the job, then you have to think about learning time, training time, getting to know new software, all of that stuff as well.
And that's all part of that consultation. We've got a briefing document that we run through every matchmaking client, and that covers things like budget and onboarding, but also, what's your usual turnaround time for work? How are you going to communicate with this person? We talked about before, what are those qualities? What are the things that they must have? What are the things that you'll happily train them on? Or what are your non-negotiables? Do they have to be available on Fridays? We've got a really thorough briefing document that we run through. So then when we bring that information to our members to say, here's the requirements of this client, like you said, if you're going to put yourself forward and send an expression of interest through, you really have a clear idea of what that business owner wants. So if we recommend you meet with that business owner, you're both starting from a place of sort of shared understanding of what's required, and then it really just comes down to the fit.
Yeah.
Can you see yourself working with that client if you're the VA, and as the client, can you see yourself working with that VA and having them in your business?
Yeah. And as somebody who worked for a number of small businesses in the past, including other industries like retail and hospitality, the one thing I remember whenever I worked for a small business was the difference between the level of, say, professionalism that I would see, and this was back in the 90s and early 2000s. And what I love about your service is all of that transparency is really helping build that change to having more inclusive workplaces and more flexible workplaces. And I really think it's a good change that the world needs to see, and you guys are really helping with that push. I don't even know if you're doing it deliberately, but it comes out really good because it's
Yeah.
VAs can be in lots of different positions. We can be mums of young children, or we can be caring for parents, or we can be working full time and just wanting to build a side business. And there are opportunities available for all of us. And you guys are helping sift and sort that and providing ones that are pleasant for us to work in at the same time. So it's really nice.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's lots of obviously very devastating and very unfortunate things that dropped out of the COVID pandemic. But I think one positive that came out of that is a lot of businesses that would have traditionally thought my staff need to be here at a desk in a cubicle where I can see them from 9 till 5, whether they liked it or not, they had to get used to a hybrid or remote workforce, especially in that kind of office based environment. I'm mainly talking. And that has definitely helped where you could have told a business owner it would work until we were blue in the face, but until a lot of business owners were forced to see, okay, this actually can work and people can be highly productive outside of our office address. That has definitely helped, I think, with business owners. That we had a business owner recently approach us who has a earth moving equipment hire company. So he hires out earth moving equipment to both homeowners. It might be, installing a pool and they need an excavator, or big civil construction companies. They had an admin person that was employed. She went on maternity leave, and he went, okay, instead of just throwing it out on Seek and doing what we've always done, let's actually explore what other avenues are out there for our human resources,
Mm.
for the people in our business, for the tasks that need to be done. He contacted us. We've set him up with the matchmaking service, and he's at the moment reviewing 3 amazing VAs. All of them could start tomorrow and would be incredible. And that's a very traditional, I went out on site like it's high vis, it's work boots, it's
Yeah.
dirty, it's dusty, like that environment. And he's just had his eyes open to this industry, and he's going to get an amazing, amazing solution for a 6 month, maternity leave
Yeah. I love that.
period. So that's it. You said it's like more and more businesses are realizing that this is an option, no matter what the industry. I think there are some great examples of business owners being, open to a hybrid or a fully remote option.
Yeah, exactly. The world is changing for the better, and you guys are helping us do it. So
Totally.
yeah. Well, I think we're going to have a lot of listeners who are business owners who want to find out more about hiring a VA. And I think we're also going to have some listeners who are thinking about starting their own freelancing style business, and VA might be a really good fit for them. So, where do you think they should go if they want to find out more about what you guys do? Is website the best place? Is social media? Where are you guys
Yeah.
normally?
I would recommend starting on the website. Our website is sort of split into those two audiences. So there's a space for virtual assistants where there's, links to our events and our resources and our mentoring that Jane runs and all the things that virtual assistants need. And then there's a space on the website for the business owners where we've got FAQs about engaging a VA, information about our matchmaking service, resources and blogs and articles designed for business owners. So that's a great space to start. And I know we mentioned it before, and whilst Newcastle is in our name because that's where we both reside, we have worked with virtual assistants all around Australia, and we've also supported business owners through our matchmaking service all around Australia. So that is, you don't have to be in Newcastle to work with us. It's just where we choose to be based in this beautiful region. But as I said, we've supported clients throughout various industries in various locations throughout Australia with matching them up with a really incredible resource for their business. So yeah, website's definitely the best way to start. You'll learn more about us on our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. But yeah, both our information's on the website. If anyone wanted to reach out, whether they are, looking for a VA or are in the VA space or wanting to become one.
Excellent. All right. I'll make sure we've got links in the show notes for your socials and your website then. It's newcastlevirtualassistants.com if you're looking. And yeah, do you think you spend the most time on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn? Where do you think?
Ooh, I make a very conscious effort with our business across both because I find our virtual assistants are more on Facebook and LinkedIn, but our business on Facebook and Instagram, but our business owners and those that are looking to explore the world of VAs and how that could support in that kind of more business to business environment, we find those more on LinkedIn. So you'll often see our content across both those platforms.
So you can't lose. You can go wherever you want.
You'll find us wherever, just not on TikTok. You won't get me doing any of those dances.
Oh my gosh. Do you know what? I love TikTok as a consumer, and I am the most terrible, inconsistent person at actually posting on TikTok. I just feel like it's there for me to just watch it all the time.
I watch it. I don't even have an account. I just watch. I purely just watch.
Oh, it's addictive.
It is.
Thank you so much for being here today, Adrian. I think that what you guys are doing is amazing. It serves two completely different audiences in a way that's very cohesive and holistic for both of them. And I think that's amazing that you're able to do that. And as somebody who has personally benefited from working with you guys on both levels, I think what you're doing is just top quality. I highly recommend you to everybody. I can't wait to hear if some of our listeners end up going down the virtual assistant pathway either way. And yeah, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, you're obviously one of our very first members here in the Newcastle VA community 5-6 years ago. So thank you for always advocating and supporting the Australian VA community and specifically the Newcastle region. I very much appreciate it, and Jane does too.
Well, I love being part of it. And everybody listening today, I really hope you've enjoyed this chat as much as I've enjoyed having it. I'm going to leave all the show notes links down there for you so that you can go and check it out in more detail. And yeah, I will see you all in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Simpler Business Podcast. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to make it nice and easy for you, just the way we like it. If you're ready to simplify and scale your business, you can get started with my free audio class at marissaroberts.com. See you next time.